Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show featuring vintage charm at 60 plus. Thank you for joining me today. I am your host, Cynthia Linox, and I am here to remind you that this is the best season of your life. After spending the first half of our lives gaining experience and having to figure things out and resolve situation and just really working and so forth, now in this half of our life, regardless of whether or not you are still contributing to corporate America, still in the workforce, or if you have refired your life to do something else, now is the time when you can show up with boldness, fearlessness, and unapologetically. It's a time of freedom. I don't know. Do you feel that way? Because I'm telling you, when I get up, that's how I feel. Most days, that is how I feel. That, oh my gosh, this is such a time of freedom that I can do the things that I want, make decisions, and go places and travel and use my creativity to help other people and create stuff and do things. It's just a feeling of freedom that I have, and I hope you feel the same way too, because it's not something that comes from the outside. It's something that emanates from the inside. It comes from your thoughts, the way you feel, and is what you are going to project. So I encourage you to really um, set your thoughts ablaze to new things, new interests, new ideas, creativity, and that dream that you have had sitting in your soul, in your gut, in your consciousness for years. Now is the time to make it a reality. So, again, I encourage you, but you have to be intentional. That's what I find also. If I'm not intentional, all these things just travel through my mind and you don't land any place. So you have to be intentional in everything that you do so that it can be meaningful. Um, Talking about that and about being fearless and so forth, this guy writes to me. This guy, he's got a beautiful family, and I'm going to call him Ryder. I just made that up, the name. And talking about, and this person is not yet, uh, he's probably, I don't even know that he's tipping at the heels of a vintage charm at 60 plus. But the thing is, the things that I share, what I find is that anyone can apply it to their lives. They're just nuggets and wisdom and things that I share. So anyway, this person writes to me, DMs me, and shares with me that in his organization, he works for this big company, and I'm assuming he has a really good position there, well respected, and so forth. And he said that his senior manager or a senior manager was recently relieved of his responsibility. In other words, to put it shortly, he was dismissed. He was fired, and they approached him. They approached Ryder and offered him this position with all the responsibilities. It's really a position as a project manager. So they approached Ryder, and now Ryder said, "This is a huge responsibility, with a lot of things that will be at stake." And so they came to him and said, "We want you to take over all of this, all of the accounts and the whole big project. It's massive." And he was a little alarmed, not because he didn't think he can do it, but he just, he was just really alarmed that they would come from that level to him. And they offered it. They made promises. They said, "We will give you all the resources and all the support that you need in order to take on this project and be responsible for it." Now, mind you, when you're a project manager, you're not the person necessarily that's doing the job. You are actually um, uh, supervising people, because you take a project and you break it down in small areas of expertise, and then you farm it out to the different departments or employees with that expertise, and you oversee it. Now, in order for you to oversee it, you must know something about the project. Ryder said it would take about 12 weeks to transfer all that information, that knowledge, and that training for someone to take over a project that is that massive. And he only had 3 days to accomplish that. He did not feel good about it at all. So he went on vacation, and he was in such turmoil, confusion, and stress, and just agitated and just not at peace. Fortunately, he has a supportive wife, and his wife said, go with your gut feeling and be fearless about your decision. She was like, he's championing him. So he comes back and he said, he calls the senior manager and he said, you know what, that project is not for me, and I am going to say no to it. I am not going to take it on. So the manager did not take no for an answer at all. He just said, no, you can do it. We trust you, and we know that you are able and skilled and qualified and so forth, and we're going to give you all the support and all the resources that you need in order to execute this massive project. Now, Ryder, no, he said, there was just so much at stake. There was just so much happening. I'm looking here because I'm going to read what he wrote to me. He said there was just so much at stake that I knew that was not for me, at least at this time. And so, but again, he is sharing with his manager that he's not going to take it, and his manager continues to insist. He took a stand and he said no. So the manager gets on the phone and he calls an upper level manager, perhaps a VP or something like that. And they're in a three-way call. And this person says, again, they're trying to force it on Ryder and really force him to take responsibility of the position, the job, project manager. Ryder said he took a stand and he said no. Mind you, he knew that it could be at the expense of him losing his own position. I get the impression it's probably a high-tech organization. He didn't mention it, but that's based on, he went through detailed information in his DM to me, but I just kind of capsulized that. So I get the impression it was probably a high-tech firm. And he knew that, he was putting his own career at risk by saying no. Generally, you don't say no to a manager, especially when they're offering you a position that you did not look for, you did not request it, you did not apply for it, and surely with that would have been an increase, financial increase, and so forth. But he knew that he was not at peace. He just knew it wasn't for him. So he said no. And what happens is they realized that they were not making any progress, that this gentleman made a decision and it was a final decision. So they realized that there's no way they could force him or strongly encourage him to take on that responsibility as a project manager. So he writes to me, and after going through all of that details and so forth, he said, now, why am I telling you this? The reason I'm telling you this is because I have always struggled to say no. But this is the first time in my life where I have boldly said no, and my wife also encouraged me immensely to stand for myself and be fearless. Oh, I just love that. He said, you always talk about setting boundaries, right? And living an authentic life to discover who we are, to discover what works for each one of us. I always say that, discover what works for you, because and that's like me saying, know your truth, because your truth is what sets you free. So he is saying here that I always encourage to live an authentic life and to discover what works for each one of us. So I thought I would share this with you. He said, Your posts and videos have also played its role in my journey. Thanks for being authentic and vocal about what you stand for and inspiring many like me in the process. The reason this was so encouraging to me is because he talks about being his true authentic self, and he talked about being fearless. He said this is the first time in his life he has had that courage to say no, because he has always struggled with it. And like Ryder, I'm sure many of you have that experience as well, where it's hard to say no. Even sometimes you have to say no to yourself. No, I'm not gonna get depressed today. I am not going to speak bad about myself today. I am not going to tell myself that I cannot make it. I am not. You have to be able to say no, not just to outside situations, but even to yourself. No, I'm not going to sit on the couch today. No, I am not going to not do anything today. I'm going to get active. And it's just, that's a big thing for a lot of people, not able to say no. And then you compromise your own peace. He said, as a matter of fact, in more details, he said he was just wrestling with himself. He could not sleep. He was stressed out to the max until he decided to make that decision and say no. Think of it. When you say no, here your manager is offering you a more responsibility, and more than likely more money with the added responsibility, and you saying no to that. That takes boldness. And that's what I'm talking about. Ryder talks about his journey as well. And he said that the things that I have shared has helped him have helped him in his journey. He talks about being fearless, and me talking about setting boundaries. You've got to set boundaries, because when you know where you stand, when you know your worth, your value, then you're able to set boundaries. That's why when people say, or when people disrespect you, I always question what would make that person think they can disrespect you. Why? It's because you haven't set boundaries. So it's important to set boundaries. It is important to set boundaries. So for him in his life, in his experience, this was like a big promotion. When you reach that level of doing something you've never done, he's not going to be able to go back. He's going to be so mindful and so conscious in all his activities and relationships, that he's going to make sure that everything has meaning and not simply just uh, living on autopilot. He's going to make sure. Ryder. So I applaud Ryder and really congratulate him for taking a stance, taking a position, and saying no. And fortunately, he had a great support in his wife that encouraged him to follow his heart and be fearless in his decision. So that is a good thing. It's just, again, life just brings us that sense of freedom when we seize it and we embrace it, and we show up with boldness and unafraid to make decisions. And that's what I encourage you to do even now. Whatever it is in your life that is holding you back, don't let it. Even if it's sometimes, we think we don't have the support of friends and family, or the resources to do the things that we want to do. I'm telling you, move forward with boldness. There is another situation. This person DMs me. Actually, this person is a relative, and I'm excited about her because of a decision that she just made in her life. And after many years of working as a paramedic, and I'm sharing this for a lot of the vintage charm at 60 plus, because sometimes we reach to this season and you think there is nothing else to do. But I'm telling you, life is full of adventure. Life is full of life, adventure, and excitement, and so forth. And even if it's a situation where you just want to rest, uh, do so. That is your choice. Just keep your mind going, just for your sake. Walk, do exercise, keep your mind going, and do whatever you want to do. Just make sure everything that you do is meaningful so that you can have a fulfilled life. So let's talk about this person, my relative. And I'm not saying her name because I didn't ask permission to share this. But anyway, so after many years working as a paramedic, uh, she decided to take an early out. She refired her life. She didn't retire. Notice that we don't say retirement here. We say refire, because if you leave the workforce to do what you want, is to refire, generally, because it's to do whatever it is that you want to do. When you're working, when you're doing things that you really want to do, your hobby, your desires, your dreams, your goal, whatever, it's not really, it's not a job. It's work that you love to do. So it becomes pleasurable. It's pleasure. So she left her job, her career as a paramedic. I don't know, many years she worked as a paramedic. And guess what? And now she loved to travel. She's traveled the world extensively. That is one of her passions. But guess what she did? She left her job as a paramedic and applied at an airline uh, organization to become a flight attendant. A flight attendant. That is fantastic. Just think of it. What a transition. She loves to fly. And, a while back when she had shared it with me, I thought, gosh, what, what a switch. What an opportunity. How exciting is that? I love to travel as well, so I know that level of excitement. So she applied at this organization, was hired. I'm sure she's well qualified, obviously. Was hired, went through weeks of training, and I'm telling you, the training is not easy. Flight attendants, they do more than just walk the aisles serving food. They are looking at people. They're studying. They have to use a lot of psychology because they're looking. They're sensing energies and people that are agitated. They're sensing vibes. They're making sure that you are okay, and taking care of crying babies in the back, and see how they can make all of the passengers comfortable and so forth. So they are, even when they're at little breaks sitting down, they're always mindful of what's going on. So there is a lot. And then the training for safety and security and all of that, especially that safety thing. You have to go on that slide, and if it requires sliding into the ocean, there's just the training is a lot. So she just graduated and she got her wings and sent some pictures. She just looks splendid. I just felt so happy for her because she is now doing something. I believe she already started. I don't know where she's stationed, but she started something new, a new career, a new life, a new adventure, new opportunities and she's going to be traveling all over the world. Imagine that in this season. Imagine that. That is just fantastic. I just, to me, that is just kind of like a big deal. Why? Because she was fearless. She didn't think things like, is this too much for me? Will I be able to handle this? Will I be able to do this or that? No, she just forged ahead and was bold enough to apply. And obviously, she qualifies, and they hired her. And here she is. She's got her wings. That is that is just fantastic. So talk about being fearless, and talk about being adventurous, and talk about really showing up with all of who you are, just showing up with confidence, knowing that you're well able, and you can live life on your own terms and do so unapologetically. That's the whole thing. Fear is a downer. Fear, paralyzes us. It keeps us from doing things, from exploring, from discovering, from getting to know who we are, from stretching and going beyond the boundaries, from reaching beyond the limitations. And most of the time, limitations are the things that in our minds we limit, we self-limit. And in most cases, it starts because of limiting beliefs. We are like this, and we don't go beyond that. So we don't allow ourselves to be open-minded to develop other interests, new interests, new things. We stay this way with limiting thought process, limiting belief system. So we really hold ourselves back from expanding and from growing and from learning new things. The other day, well, a few months ago, not the other day, a few months ago, I was invited to this birthday. It wasn't a birthday party. It was somebody's birthday, and they thought they might just get together, and it was a weekday, and just have a spread, food and wine and so forth. And so it was something that was a last minute plan. So they called and said, please join us and so forth. So I was just game. So they're close friends. So I just went over and became part of that small. There were like 13 people, and we were just in an intimate setting having great conversations. In the middle of that, someone said something about religion. Now, I am not a religious person, so I don't get involved in any kind of debate or conversations having to do with religion, because it's not something that I subscribe to. I don't subscribe to any religion. And so I don't, but I do respect everyone that's religious and their beliefs and so forth. I respect everyone with their own beliefs, but what you believe is for you, it's not for me. So they're talking and they're sharing ideas and their position on this and their position on that. And here I am sitting, I said absolutely nothing. I was just listening, and I just held my peace because, I did spend years in religion, many, many years. And I went through all of that. And I, I am now, a non-subscriber to any religion at all. I have no beliefs. I go by the things that I know, and as by the truth that I know, and that is the truth that has set me free, given me this freedom, this liberty to be my true, authentic self. And it's worked for me. It's been about 14 years since I left that whole circle. So this person sitting next to me, she said, come on, what are your views on that? Because she knows that I always contribute to the conversation or to the dialogue, whatever. And she says, let me, what do you have to say? I said, well, no, I said nothing really, because I don't believe that or anymore. I used to. So she insisted that I share something. So I just capsulized something, and I said, well, there was a time that I believed this and so forth. So I shared a little bit of that. The little that I shared really got her interest. And she said, gosh, she said, that's exactly how I feel. That's how I think. I think exactly like that, but I just can't go beyond, and I don't say anything because I'm so afraid. I said, afraid of what? And she said, I'm just afraid because she said that she is presently in remission from a health situation. And she was afraid that if she were to, take on any kind of uh, teaching or ideas or really express the way she really feels, that it would come back. And I said that what would come back? That her illness, And I thought, wow. So she said, I just, I just keep a low profile and say nothing. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And to me, it was very sad, because then you're living this thing, you're living in fear all of your life. And so then I went a little deeper. I said, what would you like? Why do you think it would come back? As a result of what? And they went on to explain that they are afraid that that God would bring it back on them. And I thought, wow, okay. And when somebody believed that way, it's not my place to try to change their beliefs and so forth. So after a while, they really wanted to know about me, about what is it about you? Why is it that you can come across so boldly and so confidently uh, with what you stand for and so forth? So, to me, that is a very personal, uh, it was a very personal journey and a personal experience that I have that I generally don't share, because it's not for you to understand. It's simply the way I live and and what has worked for me. But I went on to share with her, and and just thought I might share this now, because it could help someone. And I shared that, years ago, I did not grow up in a religious household. That just was not my experience. The only reason we went to Catholic school, it was because it was the best private school in my city. And, my dad always wanted us to have the best of everything. And so he sent us to that school, to a private, well, Catholic school, St. Joseph School. And, I did the first communion, confirmation, all of that, simply because it was part of the experience and the protocol. You're in Catholic school and you have your first communion and so forth. So and after that, it's not like I practice religion. We just live. In our household, we live and we were happy. And my dad, his whole passion was to provide for his family. That was my dad's thing. He just wanted to make sure that he could provide uh, for his family to live well and give us the best that he could. And he did a good job. And for that, I am so grateful. As a matter of fact, now I take a look at all the things that he did, and I appreciate it more now than I had the opportunity to express it to him. But anyway, to the degree that I feel today. So I grew up normal, no issues at all, no guilt, no shame. We just lived. I was very mischievous when I was younger, but got over that, and grew up when I was uh, my late teens, did my debutante and so forth, and loved all of that. So it was all normal. Then I came over here to the States, to the United States, and to go to school and so forth, and my life was great. There was a period in my life where I was vulnerable. I was facing some challenges in life, and then someone approached me and talked to me about being born again and so forth. I had no idea what that meant. The point is, I subscribed to that, and on purpose moved from New York City to California, and I just pursued that life of a born again religious person. So I did that for many years, and I was like all in. I remember I used to buy a Bible every year. I used to, in Spanish and English, different versions, different translations, different interpretations. And I used to love it. I used to read and read and read, and really got involved to the point where I even taught in Bible school and so forth. So anyway, I went through that life, and I did, and until I met my husband, and then kind of dragged him into it until, for a few years, for many years, until he just said, that's enough. So we left church about 14 years ago. And in my journey of self-discovery, that was a big thing. Now, I'm going back to the person that asked me about my position on religion, and because she said that a lot of her hesitation and fear, a lot of those are a result of religious teaching and so forth. And I went through that as well. I didn't know anything about fear until I became religious. But before that, no, I had situations in my life that I just dealt with it. You figure it out and you work it out, and it always worked out. And but when I became a religious person, that's where fear and shame and blame and condemnation and judgment, all of those things set in. And so when I went through this process of self-discovery, I needed to go back and unpack everything, make a comparison to how I was before and how my life was before to how it was during those many years of religious uh, path, all that religious indoctrination, religious dogma. I had to make a comparison to find out what is it really? What is it that happened that created that change? What is it? I needed something to know. So I said to her that I realized that when I became born again, I had to take on a whole new mindset and acquire a whole mindset of a belief system. That's exactly what it was. It was taking on a belief system, limiting belief system, because that belief system was confined simply to the Bible. I had to take on that belief system, and with that came faith. Faith is not facts. It's not reality. It's something that you hope for. And belief is not. And again, I am unpacking all of this for myself now, or then when I went through my journey of self-discovery, because I needed to know how did I get to this point, and how can I you know, get out of it, because by then I was already feeling free and delivered and walking in liberty and so forth. So I went back. Then I realized that a lot of the things, this belief system comes with a whole mindset of imagination. And again, that is my reality, because the Bible was the source, was the only source that created that belief system. So when they talked about God, that is something I had to imagine. All of it, and all the characters in the Bible: Moses and Noah and Jacob and Job, and all the characters, they were imaginations. I had to imagine them. It's something you have to imagine, because there is no demonstrable uh, facts, evidence, none. So I had to imagine all of that. So my whole walk was based on me imagining these different characters of the Bible, God included. That's why I refer to him the God of the Bible. It's a God that I imagined. God and heaven and hell, all of those things are based on one's imagination. And we know that is true, because we are also uniquely designed that our imagination goes in different directions. That's why you have all these different factions, of churches, of beliefs. Some believe you can't eat pork. One believe you can't cut your hair. As a matter of fact, there was a story about some missionaries in the country that had a maid, and the maid, went home for the weekend and came back with a bang, and this missionary said to her, if you cut your hair again, you will not be able to work for me. I will not have you work. Again, a belief system. Some factions don't wear makeup or jewelry, a whole bunch of stuff. You wear long dresses or you worship on certain days. There's so many division among the same uh, you know, doctrine of religion, which is all, as I said, guided by the Bible, limiting beliefs. But then, people do add a lot of stuff to it. One religion, they had snakes. They have snakes, just holding snakes and whatever until the snakes bit and killed, I guess, the pastor. Another religion is having, I just saw it on social media, having the members eat the grass. So there are just a lot of different things. The point is, I went to this God of the Bible. Now there is a scripture in the Bible that says, "Come, let us reason together. Come, let us reason together." It's a longer scripture, but that part, "Come, let us reason together." So I thought, okay, I'm going to go and reason with this God of the Bible so that I can know, you know, I can have some questions answered. You know how people talk about it's not a relationship, it's not a religion, but it's relationship. No, there's no such thing as no. Anyway, the point is, so I said, okay, I'm gonna go to this God of the Bible and get some answers. Because after a while, if you are really conscious and honest with yourself, you start asking questions. You start asking questions because every, a church is the same thing every week. They preach the same thing over and over and over. They just package it differently. And after a while, you want to know, and you're thinking, well, wait a minute. If the God of the Bible can talk to the preachers, he'll talk to me as well. But you have to have that kind of confidence or that kind of relationship with the God of the Bible, the God that you have imagined. And I did, this God of the Bible. And I said, okay, he said, come, let us reason together. Because my thing was like, God, the commandments and the laws that you have instituted, that you have given to Moses. For instance, I said, God, well, let me just backtrack a little bit. My complaint about the commandments was that they're not sustainable. None of it. None of it. The commandments are not sustainable. It's not something that you can live out. And I said, God of the Bible, not even you. You cannot even live out the same commandments that you commanded. I said, you said to Moses, thou shalt not kill. Yet you, God of the Bible, you killed the firstborn of Egypt. But you are a loving God. But you killed the firstborn of Egypt. I said, how awful is that? Why would you, not only the firstborn of Egypt, but the firstborn of the slaves and the animals and so forth? It's incongruent. And then over here in another passage, you ordered a certain group of people to go to Amalek and kill the Amalekites, kill them, man, woman, infant, and suckling, ox, sheep, camel, and ass, ordered by the God of the Bible. You have to ask the hard questions. There are some churches that somebody said to me, they started asking questions to the leadership, the pastor, and whatever, and they kicked him out of church. They said he was trying to create trouble. Imagine that. So I didn't ask any questions at all. I thought the same revelations that they can get, the leaders, pastors, and so forth, the God of the Bible will give it to me. Again, the God that I have imagined. So I am saying that the rules are just not sustainable. The rules are just not sustainable. And I said, God of the Bible, you said you have no favoritism. God is no respecter of persons. Yet you have set aside a certain group of people that you have called your chosen people. What is up with that? I'm telling you, it's wonderful when you can submit to critical thinking and not be afraid. It will set you free. It will set you free. And I know there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of influence and people and it's like when somebody says, God is good all the time. Take that now to the Middle East and see if that holds water. Come on. Come on. I can say that. I'm sitting here, and everything is good and so forth. I can say that, but you take that to the person that cannot feed their child, to the person that have no roof on their head, a place to sleep. Come on. We have to be real with ourselves, but I had to be brutally honest with myself. I had a whole bunch of Bibles that of course, I've since gotten rid of all of them. And I had to be brutally honest with myself. That's not easy to do, especially when you think, everybody's thinking there's so many, of religious people that you may, stand out like, or being ostracized or something. But that, it doesn't matter because I'm at peace with myself. One of my questions was to the God of the Bible. I said, if heaven is a perfect place, and if that's where you reside, and you are a perfect God. Now, let me also mention, before I went into all this dialogue with the God of the Bible, I said, you are omnipotent and you're omniscient. So you know what is in my mind, what is in my heart. You know how I feel. And you know that my idea, this thing about going to heaven and worshiping you for eternity, that is not my idea of a good life. That is, and ladies and gentlemen, yes, I did say that. I said that's not my idea. That's not. I don't want to do that. Then fine, I just want to go to heaven. It's that simple. Yeah. And I said that to the God of the Bible. You know what? I believe that people just like you or anyone like the truth. They like you to be authentic, and that I thought, if I'm made in the image and likeness of this God of the Bible, then he would appreciate truth and authenticity coming from me. Because if I'm created in his image and in his likeness, then I am just, just reverberating exactly what he is. No disrespect. I was not disrespectful. I just needed to know. And I wasn't afraid to ask because by then I had already gone through this discovery of who I am, and I know that this is all influenced by that whole journey. That's why I wasn't afraid. So I said, if heaven is a perfect place and you are a perfect God, there is no imperfection in you. And you created the angels and, Michael and Gabriel and angels and Lucifer and so forth. How is it that sin was found in Lucifer? Where did sin come from? What sin? Where did sin come from? And I know people might think, well, he wanted to exalt himself above God. Where did that all come from? If you created a perfect being, so how does it all work? How does it all work? Where did that come from? And it's interesting because as I ask these questions, it's almost like, well, not almost, I was like getting answers that would substantiate and good enough for me to know that I was on the right path. And then I said, okay, so you, God of the Bible, kicked Lucifer out of heaven from your presence, and now he's a devil, he's Satan, he's got demons with him and all that. Then I went into this whole thing about salvation. Salvation from what? I'm telling you, my dad's passion was to provide the best he could for his family. And if I wanted a new bike and I asked my dad for a bike, he gets me a bike. I'm happy. I'm like, oh God, Dad, whatever. I kiss him, I hug him, whatever, and that's it. He doesn't expect me to every day. Oh Lord, oh God, no, Dad, you did. No, it's done. He gave me the bike, and I'm happy, and I go and I ride, and that's it. A month later, I'm on the skates and back to whatever, and he's happy. As a matter of fact, he was happier that he was able to provide for me than me getting a new bike. And I'm like, what's this whole thing, God of the Bible, about worship and so forth? What is it? That is just not settling within me. And I'm telling you, there is respect there. The God of the Bible, there's respect there when you are authentic and not afraid. And not afraid. So I said, okay, this whole thing with salvation, what is that necessary? Saved from what? And then I said, God of the Bible, wouldn't it have been easier to kill Satan, Lucifer, than your son? But you send your only begotten son to die for us, for our sins and all of that. That whole story is a big story. I said it would have been easier to just kill the bad guy, kill the enemy, just get rid of the enemy, and keep my son. And have us, your creation, live here happily ever after, living, making this heaven, which it is in reality. The life that you live is either your heaven or your hell. I don't believe in heaven or hell. That is not part of my makeup. So I have no fear when I talk about heaven or hell. That's not a place that is in my reality. And it doesn't matter what anyone says, it is not a place in your reality, because no one, I don't care how much they have hallucinated or delusional, no one has been able to prove that there is a heaven or there is a hell. But I do know some people that are living in hell right now. So there is absolutely no fear. And this whole thing about, love and unconditional love, there's no such thing as unconditional love. Because if there was something as unconditional love, it wouldn't be, if you are willing and obedient, you will eat the fat of the land, or thou shalt love the Lord thy God, and so whatever. There's no such thing. I can say I love you, but there's certain things that there are boundaries. There are boundaries. And so I had all these questions. Those are the hard questions, my friend, that will set you free. And during this season, you need to have the freedom and the liberty to be who you are. But starting out with knowing who you are and being your true, authentic self. I asked the God of the Bible about slavery. How could you condone slavery? What is that all about? I'm telling you, I'm looking here because I've got my iPad over here and I'm just kind of. So slavery, what is that all about? And then designating a certain group of people as your chosen. Imagine that. Do you know how it makes you feel when someone is prejudiced against you or discriminates against you. Do you know how that makes you feel? But the God of the Bible, I'm telling you, that's the biggest propaganda there is. I'm telling you, all of that. But again, it's a belief system that I bought into, a belief system. And the same way belief changes, there's a pastor right now that preached on tithing, 10% tithe. Not too long ago, he went back and he said, I was wrong. Get rid of all the books on tithing that I have written and get rid of all the tapes because I was wrong. So you see, belief system. Another pastor that was under a type of faction, religious faction, that the ones that don't cut your hair and you wear long skirts and so forth, and they left that whole group because they discovered that didn't work for them, and they left. That's the same missionaries that were abroad, and the help, the maid, came back from her weekend with a bang, and I know this firsthand. And that missionary saw that she cut her hair, her bang, and told her that if she cuts it again, she will not work for them because of religious belief. And after that, these missionaries left that whole faction. So you see, it's almost like everybody doing what they want to do. People. So, my friend, if you are hindered by religious belief, I'm telling you, set yourself free. Ask the hard questions. And not to your leaders. You are worthy to be honored with a response, with a dialogue. You say it's not religion, it's a relationship, then you ought to be able to go to the God of the Bible and ask those questions. And then you will find out, again, who this God of the Bible is. This God that says the battle is the Lord. That's another thing. He's like, the battle is the Lord. You're the boss. You battle. Who are you battling with? That means there's someone that's, excuse me, competing with you, and it would have been someone that you created. All of that, my friends, makes no sense to me. Made no sense to me. Made no sense at all to me. And that's how I have come up with everything that I have thought, believed, subscribed to, honored for years. It was all in my imagination. Remember, there's a scripture that says something about anything that they have imagined shall happen, or something like that. And there's some truth to that, because ever since we left the church and this religious narrative, I don't think in terms of devil or sin or good or bad, right or wrong. We just live. And life has been really, if you want to think in terms of like, I haven't had a cold in almost, 20 years, in such a long time. I haven't had a cold, and I don't do the flu shots because I don't like to be poked or anything. I don't do flu shots. But, so because I think, no, I'm well, I'm healed, I'm well physically. And those are my thoughts. That's what I concentrate on. My imagination sees me whole and healthy and vibrant and really living a good, adventurous life, and sharing with you that you can do that too. But again, I am not imposing my thing, my walk on you or my experience. No, I'm encouraging you to seek your own, because you're worthy of answers. You are worthy of your own truth. Your truth, your truth wants to find you, or wants you to discover it. That's why you are listening to this. Your truth is the truth that will set you free. And if that person sitting next to me during that birthday gathering, once they know this, they will know that they can seek without fear, and that they can be fearless and unapologetic, because it's not that you're being rude or disrespectful. No, it's that you need to show up boldly. You need to show up with boldness and confidence. And I encourage you to do that. It's not a bad thing. It's just something, and a lot of people are waking up to these and asking questions. Just that I was a little more methodical, and I don't have any other questions, because I have already come to the conclusion of this thing with my imagination. And I know that imagination goes and comes, and I can get deeper, but certain things I just reserve for myself, because those are the things that work for me. So the God of the Bible, we are, parted ways, and I know that's all a story and so forth that I bought into. And just like you see other people changing things, and their narrative and all that rhetoric and so forth, yeah, you come to a point where you discover truth. And again, my friends, that is the truth that will set you free, so that you can live fearless and unapologetically. I encourage you, really, I encourage you to dig in and to come to that place of your truth. It doesn't matter what anybody says, what they think, it doesn't matter. And this is not something that now it's out there because I've shared it, but it's not something that I looked forward to sharing, because it's a personal journey. But after 14 years of living a life of uh, you know a pleasant life, and living a life of joy and contentment, and just really enjoying the people around me, and having good relationships, good connections with people, and so forth, I know that it's working. I know that it's working. And for you, sometimes when you share things like this, people say, "Oh, I'll be praying for you." No, you don't need to pray. I've been praying in like 14 years over anything. You don't need to pray, because I'm good. You need to pray for yourself. And I don't even say that. You just need to go discover your truth. Because again, that is the truth that will make you free. So it's out there. I've shared it, and I am delighted that I did. Um, I know that this will help you come to a place of truth. Come to a place of truth, because therein lies your freedom, and your joy, and peace, and prosperity, and abundance. That's where it lies. And know also your worth. Know also that this whole thing about uh, you not being part of the chosen few, don't worry about that. You are special. You are special, and you choose you. Know your worth and know your value. And with that, I am going to say ta-ta for now. I encourage you, drop me a note, go to my page, see the website there. It's called thecynthialinoxshow.com. Just scroll to the bottom and drop me a note, send me ask me any questions that you would like. I'll be glad to share, and so forth. Now, if you miss this broadcast, you can always pick it up on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and then there's Instagram and so forth. So don't hesitate to check it out. And I am sure that you'll be encouraged by it, by what I shared. And in the meantime, have a great life. Know that you are in the best season of your life, and it's up to you to make it meaningful so that you can live a fulfilled life. So hasta luego, until next week. I'll see you then. Ciao amigos, au revoir, hasta luego.